Hi, I'm Theodore Cottingham with the School of Me in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, USA. And I am creating a school. I have started a school. More than once when it didn't really flourish. But now's the time. And I ask you to flourish in it with me. If you want to, if you're willing. But let's be clear. Let's be clear about the school I am creating to create you. You. The infinite. The infinite will you be? The mind that fails, no more of. Because you control things not, but you guide in love. And love you become. Love you create. The school I'm creating is not for you to make more money. It's where you learn. You don't need it. I'm not creating a school where you come get more information to maintain a marriage in failure or one of abuse where people abuse each other or children lie to their parents or parents lie to their children. You see, this is not the school to increase your stature, your success rate in the finite world. I'm creating a school for you to come out of it. I'm creating a school like no other school. It's unique and it won't perish again because I'm being me. And me is thee who will be it too. Are you willing to create a new mind in you and wear it? You can say, well, how does a person wear their mind? I will suggest to you that this is exactly what we're doing now in flesh. We're wearing the product of our mind. But there's a way. There's a way to create a new you in the infinite and become the infinite you in it. Not needing a mind of failure, not needing a mind controlled by neurons, not needing this flesh body, but still being able to operate in it. This is not talking about Christianity or accepting a Redeemer to do something for you or believe the blood of Jesus atoned for you or anybody else did anything for you. This is you coming into the holy place of you to see what you are, see how you have become who you are, see what your capacity is, and do something about it, and not be damned by failure, or damned by others' thoughts, or damned by some judge you think will deem you unworthy or not. This is not the school of condemnation with awards for compliance with the rules. This is the school of God, the school of us, the school of the infinite, the school of creation. This is the school of creation to create the infinite you who existed in consciousness, creating creation before this world, earth, was formed. I'm creating the school of the infinite creator, the creation of the infinite you. You, the mind of one. You who will heal God and be it. Not that you want the worship of God, but God, something that we have created in our mind to have a sacred position with sacred theology and sacred behavior and sacred attributes. We no longer create that way because we begin in this school to learn the heart of God is to create you equal with it as it before it existed as something separate. So the time is growing short, and I'm getting clearer and clearer and clarifying and becoming more concise, I think, I hope, about these things. We haven't understood. We've let blind men teach us to be blind. We have let idol worshipers teach us to worship idols, the idols of thought, the idols in our mind of a picture of a man, Jesus, who was sacred, anointed, appointed, exclusively the one and only to do all these things for us and come back while we sit here and wait and exist in dire circumstances, hoping to have a better job, money to pay our bills, wanting a better life. Because we see ourselves as finite beings here in this world. We see ourselves with definitions that we create and follow along in the behavior of the definitions. We think we're finite, but we aren't. The real true us is infinite. The seed of the infinite is within you. Men, you carry a seed. Women, boys and girls, you carry a seed, whether you call it the Christ or not. But the story is valid to see it as the story about you. An angel has come and appeared to you to say, you are chosen, you are holy, you are anointed, you are going to bear a child, if you choose to. This is the choice to choose you, the choice to see the story about you. See the Christ story, no longer in affliction, but Christ it in you. I suggest to you the story that Jesus told, the story of the kingdom, as he went about doing good, teaching about the kingdom. He taught a whole lot of things about the kingdom of God that were never recorded. And many of them that may have been recorded were stricken because men didn't understand it. They didn't understand how they could become the infinite, the born again, to do the miracles. They didn't understand They didn't have that time. They didn't understand what? Jesus saying, you are my body and blood. Not a wafer and a cracker. Not a piece of bread and a chalice. Several men sitting around. You call it the Last Supper, and you sacredize it. You create some kind of holiness around it. You create a rite and ritual, and then you authorize only certain type of people who have certain type of authorizations from some great authority to give you the wafer and cracker. Phooey, phooey. Let's grow up. See the story. The real true Jesus is you who will be it. Jesus said, I suggest to you, be me. Not me, Theodore Cottingham, in flesh. Don't try to emulate my appearance, my behavior. Or will you see love? Do you feel love? Do you love love? Are you willing to love love? Are you willing to change your definition of love? Are you willing to see a different definition of Jesus or the Christ or what he did? Or did he do these things, or are they just stories? But if he didn't do those things, if these stories are right, do they in fact empower you to find out? Are you willing to find out? Are you willing to find out if you have power? Are you willing to find out if you have the seed? Just the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or the seed of the infinite? I have a school for the infinite. I have a school for the Christ to be it. I have a school for God to surrender to be God again. I have a school for the angels to surrender, to learn how to be angels again, whether you call it the angelic race of one or not. The name won't defeat it. What is your heart saying to you this day? I'm asking you to not just have a better idea, to compete better, to make more money, to have a better standing in your church, your community, die with a bigger bank account. What do you want? I want to be me, not contaminated by the words of others, nor controlled by the looks of those I've been attached to, or those words that are projected upon me from others. I want to be who I am, what I am, where I am. I want to know the real story, the real true story. So over and over I began to do all I knew to do, to go to the source of the source. And that's what I did. And for years, my quest was not to know about God. My quest was to know God. And I learned because I began to experience writing the first person words of God. And I began doing that day after day as simply one surrendered. A guy just like me. I began to write 21 years ago. For several years, I'd written a paragraph or two, thinking it was inspired, sourced by God. But I had no idea. I didn't understand the new covenant. The few times I heard somebody explain it, I thought I'm more confused about it than ever. Some would say, it's the Bible, it's a man, it's Jesus, it's this, that. They didn't understand it's a system of education. The promise of the new covenant is the promise that what God is not necessarily your version. But I suggest to you, it's the story. Truth will communicate with you. And I suggest that it's the great allegory. It says many things, but it's saying many more things about the things that you can take and see the story and apply it to. The Christ child, the Christ story, I suggest, is about you. The seed of the infinite. Jesus said in John 14:12, if you believe in me, you will do the things I do and greater. I suggest to you, that's true. And it means just what it says. But we haven't known how. We haven't known how to turn water into wine, raise the dead, heal the sick, speak, and the centurion's servant afar be from a ways off be healed. We haven't known how to calm the storm, have we? So men and women, people, have applied their logic at times the best they could, whether their motive was to control the laity or not. But I suggest many, that was exactly what they wanted to do, was continue their control of the laity. Because if they control the language, they control the story. And who controls the story? Who controls the story of your origin? Why do you believe such a story? Why don't you ask? Why don't you consider? Were you really created? Did you evolve? Truth is not delicate. Truth is not fragile. Truth desires to be known. City of light on a hill can't be hidden under a bushel. So I've experienced God teaching me directly for 21 years in a process that I say unto you that I've experienced, and therefore I know whatever you call God is willing to teach you too. As long as you see you as a grasshopper, as one appointed to die, then you don't even let God teach you directly about how to become born again while you're living to defeat death, because you believe, because Paul said, somebody said, it's appointed unto every person to die and then the judgment. Fear God, fear God, fear the wrath of God. Who's controlling the narrative? Who's controlling the story? Who's controlling your book of life? Who's controlling your prayer life? Or does your life have any prayer? Or will you learn not to pray to another God? Will you not learn to pray? Will you cease praying to God and let God begin to teach you directly? Will you quit asking for stuff, for things, and come sit at the feet? Or will you come sit at your feet? Or will you come as a little child into the holy place with what I consider the most important tools to regain your identity? A pen and a yellow tablet. A pen and a yellow tablet. I suggest you start with a pen and a yellow tablet, not your computer, no matter how fast you type or how fast you can talk, and it transcribe automatically for you. Why? Because it's a physical process. And it starts with a certain momentum. A momentum to begin to loose you from the chains of adulthood, from humanity, from the definitions of religion. So when I say God began to teach me directly 21 years ago, I began to write. I began to write with pen on yellow tablet every day. Multi-page documents for which I had no precedent at all. And over, there was an intimacy. There was a love that somehow was at the centrality of these communications. And see, the school I'm creating is for you to receive the same communication, the communication from the creator of all creators before all of this existed, to teach you directly to be no longer contaminated with thoughts of hell and heaven and a redeemer that's done everything for you while you sit along, try to make money, try to be successful, try to appease the authorities, church leaders, raise your hands in worship, attend church. Where were you Sunday? We missed you. I have wept and cried many times. And I suggest to you that there's more to your story. There's more to all of us than we have let each other know. And it's time we begin to see the Christ story is about you, our brother, our sister, our mate, our partner. The story of Christ is about the people that you love to hate, the ones that you have shunned, the ones you have cut off from you, the ones that you think can't possibly turn from Saul to Paul. It's time we begin to let each other be Christ. I'm saying that because if you see you as finite and someone else in your class becomes infinite, becomes born again, is no longer limited to flesh, suddenly starts doing healings. What's the automatic reaction? The innate response is, damn, who are they? Who are they to do these things? I've done all this, I've done all that. I've studied, I've given, I prostrated myself before God all these years. We see the finiteness, we see the disconnect between each other, and we do the comparison. And in the comparison is the creation of our downfall. When we begin to come together and begin to know the infinite and let the infinite teach us, it, my friend, will change our values and our eyes. You see, I begun to show some pictures, and I have several hundred now that I have of this. And I don't know that any of them are perfect, but maybe they all provide some additional information to the words that I'm speaking. and the energy that may ride on my voice. Think with me outside the box a minute, what I've just said. So the voice, auditory, waves of energy, squiggly lines, frequency, modulation, encoded, projected, you receive, decode. Okay, so all this energy transceiving is going on auditorily, mechanically, visually. But I suggest to you the energy that I'm talking about of source. Source energy, source God, source of the source. Before energy was a thing that we call it, necessitated and talked about by classical physics, or even now the quantum world, is not limited to the energy of our atmosphere. I suggest to you, honestly, that even as I speak, even as you listen to these words, whether you're watching me on video or hearing them audio or reading them in print, there is an energy present that is not limited to the finite you, your finite eyes or your finite ears, nor your finite understanding. There's something else. And it's not magic. But even if you call it magic, it doesn't defeat it. The name doesn't defeat the operation of truth. Truth distributed by the power of truth. Power, our word for it today is still, I think, the best word, energy. There's an energy of truth. Creation of power or power of creation. I suggest to you there's a power of creation in our words, because that infinite spark of the infinite original us is still within each of us. And this is why I've started a school. This is the school of me, no matter what I call it, no matter how many times I change the name of it, trying to communicate. I'm certainly not ambivalent about it. I'm trying to communicate. And many times I've made a mess of things. And you should realize that many times I've changed my story. How can that be? God doesn't change. I suggest that's a lie. Just like it's appointed to you once to die and then the judgment. That's a lie. I believe if we become who we are, we will truly not only understand, but we will operate in the kingdom of God. The story they got so controlled and convoluted, but actually the kingdom of heaven that Jesus taught originally and more. And there was so much more than he didn't teach. Remember, at one point with a group of people, he's reported to say, I have so much more to say to you, but you cannot now bear it. If I began to tell you all that I've received about us in these 21 years, you might really have a problem listening. But we don't start in advanced quantum physics. We start with where we are today. We start where we are. We start with the tools we have. We start and we listen. And we come as a little child. And we grow. And we learn and we listen. And we interact. And we write the first person words of source. When I write the first person words all these years, just clarifying, none of them have been two-way conversations. This may be important. I don't know. But it's an aspect. None of them have been two-way conversations. I get an idea, maybe a simple idea. Doesn't seem anything special, except I may go, I don't really start often a sentence with creating the infinite within me or something that, but I pick up my pen and begin to write. And most of the time. Not every time, but by far most of the time. At the end of that phrase, there's another phrase. It's not, I'm not hearing an auditory voice, but it's coming through me. There's something that's not limited to the finite mind, nor the infinite around me, nor the finite definitions, the finite around me, or the finite definitions. So I begin to write, and I may write 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 20 pages. But now, here's the point of this I'm sharing. I write that. Well, after I reread it, and I would then go to my office and I would type it up. And I'm a fast typer. That's kind of a mechanical process. So it's not like I would ingest really everything being said. I would transcribe all these yellow pages that I'd written. And then I would print them. And then I would close the door and sit down. And with my total attention, see what was said. And then, as I began to read and underline and make notes, many times I would weep, I would cry many times, but I would underline this and I would begin to see how to assemble it. And a process was taking place where, lo and behold, many times it sparked many questions because within these words were many questions of me. But also, there were questions that I had from when I read my words yesterday and the day before. And there were things that I questioned a week ago that all of a sudden would show up. And I think, oh my gosh. So there is something like assembling the messages of God. There's understanding. It's a creation process because you are recreating you. Because you are the creation power of the universe. It is not separate. You are the infinite ma'am. You're the infinite little girl. You're the infinite dear little boy. Don't grow up and be arrogant. Don't grow up and limit your life to what you see with your own eyes and hear with your own ears. Be the infinite reciprocate, the infinite transceiver. Folks, be the infinite lover. Love each other and condemn not your fellow man, your fellow woman. Love each other. Love each other. And let love destroy you no more. Come to see. What is your mission, role, and task on the earth? Are you here just to play around, make money, serve the church, worship God, die? Damn that lie. And you can see, many will hate me for my truth. And you decide whether it's your truth or not. Whose truth are you living? Whose truth are you lying with? Whose truth is raping you? Or whose truth is setting you free? What's controlling you? Why aren't you doing the miracles? Jesus said, if you believe in me, you will never die. You believe Jesus or Paul? I suggest probably 90, if not 98% of what people hear from Christian pulpits is all the teachings of Paul and creation of the church and being under authority and tithing, witnessing and proselytizing and memorizing scripture and Bible study. It's not about leadership, to lead you out of where you've been, to lead you out of where? Slavery to the flesh, slavery to the 5 sense mind, slavery to what your eyes see and your ears hear, thinking you're finite. That's a lie. You are the infinite. And that's why I've started a school. And if you think I'm radical, okay. If you think I'm a nut, okay. But you can't stop me. Because I know what love is now, and I've learned to love love. And love speaks. Love communicates. Love dines with love. Love is romantic. Really. At the center of this school are the words that I have written. For 21 years, and this is what I teach, what I speak, what I live, and what I enter. And I ask you to consider these things. The foundation of the school system of this school is the first 2,400 messages that I wrote. The first person words of God giving me the lessons in this school. I suggest it's a document, if you will, like no other. You'll see my path. You'll see my foibles. You'll read of a simple, common guy, many times in turmoil, torment, but seeking, wooing God, and learning how God woos each of us and how our mind is not finite and that we are not limited to this earth. We are not limited by time or space. We begin to see the source of the source is in fact us, because that spark is not separate from the original beginning. We begin to see there's no future to come that we're not a part of. We begin to see the energy, not just of our energy body, of an aura of molecules. We begin to see through the stories that free us. And you, my friend, in this school, begin to learn to see through the stories that you write with your own pen, creating creation again, to be the infinite mind, all connected. Christing Christ, to be the creator I am, the I Am Institute, the I Am of One, academy, university, college, school, fellowship, communion, walking out a life no more filled with sin or remorse, because there is no sin except separation. This is where you begin to embody the real you of light. And your light body is no longer separate. And your mind is no longer decimating you. And that's why I've begun in my desire to communicate, to show you pictures of simplicity People in the school write. This is a writing school. This is a writing school. This is a writing school. There are no tests per se as such. There are no grades, but there are papers to write. There are projects to do with each other where you pick up your pen and you learn. You learn to initiate. You arise in leadership because you can no more hide from your own flesh and you're no more fearful of God. How was the prodigal son treated when he came home? When he came home? Home? Are you willing to see the real you and no more condemn you? Will you put the robe and crown on each other? Will you bring each other in joyful delight? The joys of one mind, the infinite. Are you willing to see this is process? Are you willing to understand these words? Day after day I teach. Day after day I make recordings. Day after day I ask you to see and be the one who will pick up your pen and begin to write. Not expecting some great energy, not expecting some great aura, not expecting a particular feeling, but simply coming, being quiet, and start writing whether you feel like it or not. Write whether you feel like it or not, whether you think you have any divine words or inspiration or not. Probably 98% of the time that I've written the first person words of God all these years, I didn't feel any great inspiration. I've had a couple spectacular experiences, but very few. But I wrote, and I felt the energy of love, the energy of something that transcended the physical ink on paper, that transcends the physical energy of the wave that you are decoding. And I tell you, you remember the movie Pleasantville? Gosh, I like that movie. Things go from black and white into what? Color, because of knowledge. This is all about you who are simple enough to come as a little child and begin to ask. And let not the definitions of any Bible, of any book, of any authority, any preacher, any religion condemn you before you get off the ground. Because, my friend, we are coming into a place now of the new beginning where I assure you we are no longer limited to this physical body. And this is what this school is for you to become the real you and do the things Jesus did and more. This is when you become born again. The creation of the new you, no longer being finite. I love you all. This is my message this day, to be clear about the school I am starting. And it either attracts you or repels you. You love it or you hate it. But I'm here, and I'm not going away because I am these words. I am this message. And my message heals. My message does not obey yours nor bow down to it. There's no way to stop the living word that comes forth now, no longer controlled by man, and its condemnation, and its control theories, and its execution of judgment against the denial that they hold the keys to the kingdom. I do. I hold my keys to my kingdom, and you hold the keys to yours. The keys to the kingdom you hold in your mind, the kingdom of you. take you to death no more. Live life, live love, live the living word. No more constricted to a book with the blind leading the blind off a cliff. Okay, I go now. I love you all. My name is Theodore Cottingham with the School of Me. You can write me at Box 34 in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, USA. On the web, theschoolofme.com. I ask you to initiate. I ask you to take action. I ask you to live law no more, but love, loving love, seeing you in the mirror, seeing the love of God, seeing the fashion of God, seeing the creation of the Most High in you because you're it. We are creating a race. We will change this nation because we live love. And we anoint the anointed who anoint us. Not. We choose life to live love. And everyone has that choice. We don't need to bring a metal sword against anyone because they will live their choice. Those who think they're appointed to die will die out. But the living love of one creates the infinite mind that never dies. Enjoy the dew of your youth. Realize the words that heal and recreate the infinite you come through you. Okay, I love you. See you later. Write me. Live me. And who is me? The real you. And there's a bunch of us. Millions. And many will come study with me in Eureka. You come study here in Eureka. It's not easy. Fun maybe. Tremendously enjoyable. But it's creation time again. You're to create you, the new and living you, by the new and living word, the word of your mouth, the word of your pen, to create a new creation. All one, the infinite you. Beauty abounds. You have no lack of it. And I love you. I go now. I invite you to write comments in the comments section of this video. I ask you to write me at Box 34, Eureka. I ask you to subscribe to the mailing list. Subscribe to the student membership program. I invite you to be the real you. And I love you. No matter who you are, no matter what you've done, I love you. Love each other. Thank you. Good day.